1927, Babe Ruth's golden year, 60 home runs, historic record. Every game at Yankee Stadium draws 70,000 people, all coming to watch Ruth. When Ruth steps onto the field, the stadium roars like a lion. "Babe! Babe! Babe!" Children scream. Ruth smiles, waves, hits home runs, jumps, lives. That powerful man, that joyful giant, that American dream. 220 pounds of muscle, unlimited energy, looks immortal. 1948, 21 years later. Same stadium, but different Babe Ruth. Or not Babe Ruth anymore, just George Herman Ruth. 53 years old, cancer, throat cancer, fighting for 2 years, losing, surgeries, radiation, chemotherapy. Nothing works. Lost 85 pounds, cannot walk, cannot talk, suffering, dying. Doctors say maybe 2 weeks, maybe less. June 27th, 1948. Yankees team retiring his jersey number 3, historic ceremony. Honoring Babe Ruth. They invite him, but do not expect him to come because they know his condition. Too sick, too weak, on his deathbed. But Ruth comes, leaves the hospital, by ambulance. His family says, "Do not go." His doctors say, "It is suicide." But Ruth comes, because that is Yankee Stadium, his home, his church, his monument. And before he dies, he wants to see it one more time, feel it, be there, one last time. To understand the tragedy of June 27th, 1948, you need to understand the glory of 1927. That year, Babe Ruth was not just a baseball player, he was a force of nature, a living legend, the most famous athlete in America, maybe the world. He hit 60 home runs, more than any player in history, more than most entire teams. He was unstoppable, unreachable. When he walked into Yankee Stadium, fans erupted. When he stepped to the plate, pitchers were already defeated. When he swung the bat, physics changed. The ball traveled farther than seemed possible, higher than seemed real. And Ruth made it look easy, made it look fun. He would point to the outfield, call his shot, then hit the ball exactly where he pointed. Showmanship, confidence, joy. That was 1927 Ruth, the man who made baseball magical, the man who saved the sport after the Black Sox scandal, the man who gave America something to believe in during hard times. 220 pounds of pure athletic excellence, running the bases with surprising speed for his size, sliding into home with reckless abandon, playing the outfield with natural grace, and always smiling, always laughing, always enjoying every moment. That was the Babe Ruth America knew. That was the Babe Ruth America loved. But 1927 was a long time ago. By 1946, Ruth was 51 years old, retired from baseball for 11 years, living in New York, enjoying life, still famous, still beloved, but not playing anymore, just existing, going to restaurants, attending games as a spectator, living on his legend. Then in August 1946, Ruth started feeling pain in his throat, sharp pain, constant pain. He ignored it at first, thought it was nothing, just getting old, but the pain got worse, started affecting his eating, his speaking, his breathing. He went to a doctor. The doctor examined him, ran tests. The diagnosis came back: cancer, nasopharyngeal carcinoma, throat cancer, aggressive, already advanced. The doctor gave him options: surgery, radiation, experimental treatments. Ruth tried everything, had surgery to remove the tumor, but the cancer had spread. Had radiation therapy, burned his throat, made speaking painful, made eating impossible. Lost weight rapidly, from 215 pounds to 180, then to 160, then to 140. The cancer was eating him from the inside, destroying the voice that had called out to millions, destroying the throat that had laughed with joy, destroying the man who had seemed indestructible. By 1948, Ruth knew he was dying. The doctors told him, not with certainty, they never do, but with reality. "Mr. Ruth, the cancer is not responding to treatment. We are managing your pain, making you comfortable, but we cannot stop it." Ruth understood. He had seen death before, lost his first wife, lost friends, lost teammates. He knew what dying looked like, and he could see it in the mirror. Hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, gray skin, thin arms, and the body that had hit 714 home runs was disappearing, piece by piece, day by day. He stopped going out, stopped attending games, stopped seeing friends, not because he wanted to hide, but because walking was too difficult, speaking was too painful, existing was too hard. He stayed in Memorial Hospital, in a private room, with nurses checking on him constantly, doctors managing his pain medication, family visiting when they could bear to see him like this. And Ruth lay in bed, thinking about his life, about baseball, about Yankee Stadium, about all the moments that made him who he was, and wondering if anyone would remember him, not as this dying man, but as the player he used to be. June 20th, 1948. A letter arrives at the hospital from the Yankees organization, addressed to George Herman Babe Ruth. Ruth's wife, Linda, opens it, reads it aloud to him, because Ruth's eyes are too weak to read any more. The letter says, "Dear Mr. Ruth, on June 27th, 1948, Yankee Stadium will host a special ceremony. We are retiring your jersey number 3, the first number ever retired by the Yankees. We would be honored if you could attend. We understand your health situation. If you cannot come, we will proceed with the ceremony and send you photographs. But if you can come, even for a few minutes, it would mean everything to the fans, to the team, to baseball. Sincerely, Dan Topping, Yankees owner." Linda finishes reading, looks at her husband. Ruth is crying, silent tears running down his hollow cheeks. He cannot speak. His throat is too damaged. But he points at the letter, nods his head. He wants to go. Linda shakes her head. "Babe, you cannot. You can barely get out of bed. The trip would be too much." Ruth reaches for a pen, paper, writes in shaky handwriting, "I go last time." Linda shows the note to the doctors. They all say the same thing. It is too dangerous. The travel could kill him. The stress could kill him. Even if he survives the trip, he will be in agony. But Ruth keeps writing, over and over, "I go, I go, I go." June 26th, the day before the ceremony. Ruth is preparing, or trying to prepare. Nurses help him sit up in bed. He has not been fully vertical in weeks. The room spins, his head pounds, but he stays up, practices sitting. Standing takes longer. His legs have atrophied. 85 pounds lighter means his muscles have wasted away. He stands for 30 seconds, then collapses back onto the bed. The nurses rush to help him. "Mr. Ruth, you cannot do this. You cannot go tomorrow." Ruth writes, "Watch me." That evening, a tailor comes to the hospital, brings Ruth's old Yankees uniform jacket, the one he wore during his playing days, tries to put it on Ruth. The jacket hangs off him, meant for a 220-pound man, now on a 130-pound skeleton. It looks ridiculous, like a child wearing his father's clothes. The tailor offers to alter it. Ruth shakes his head, writes, "Keep it. They remember old me." Instead, they dress him in a dark suit, size 38, still too big, but better than the uniform would have been. Ruth looks at himself in a mirror, does not recognize the man staring back. That is not Babe Ruth. That is a ghost. But he is going to the stadium anyway, because that ghost was once a legend, and legends do not hide. June 27th, 1948. Sunday afternoon, 11 a.m. An ambulance pulls up to Memorial Hospital. Not an emergency ambulance, just medical transport for a dying man's final wish. Paramedics enter Ruth's room, carefully lift him onto a stretcher. He weighs 130 pounds. Lifting him is easy. Physically. Emotionally, it destroys everyone in the room. This man who used to be a giant is now lighter than most children. The ambulance drives slowly through New York. No sirens, no rush. Just a quiet drive from hospital to stadium. Ruth lies on the stretcher, eyes closed, not sleeping, just preparing, gathering whatever strength remains. The ambulance arrives at Yankee Stadium at 1 p.m., 2 hours before the ceremony. Ruth is wheeled into a private room beneath the stadium, his old locker room, where he used to prepare for games, where he used to laugh with teammates, where he used to be Babe Ruth. Now he sits in a wheelchair, hunched, small, waiting. At 2 p.m. the stadium is full, 60,000 people, largest crowd of the season, but they did not come for the game. They came for Babe Ruth, came to say goodbye, because everyone knows this is the last time. Ruth can hear the crowd through the walls, that familiar roar, that beautiful sound. He smiles. For the first time in weeks, he smiles. 2:30 p.m. An announcement over the loudspeaker. Ladies and gentlemen, today we honor the greatest player in baseball history. Today we retire jersey number 3, Babe Ruth's number, and we are honored to announce Babe Ruth is here with us today. The stadium erupts, 60,000 people on their feet, applauding, crying, screaming, not with joy, with grief, with love, with the knowledge that this is goodbye. Ruth is wheeled to the entrance of the field. He can see the grass, the bases, the pitcher's mound, home plate, all the places that used to be his. He tries to stand. His legs buckle. Paramedics catch him, support him. He waves them off, writes quickly, "Walk! Must walk!" They give him a cane, a wooden cane. He grips it, puts weight on it, steps forward. One step, his legs shake, but hold. Another step, slower, harder, but he is walking. The paramedics stay close, ready to catch him if he falls. But Ruth keeps walking, out of the tunnel, onto the field, into the sunlight. The crowd sees him, really sees him, and the applause stops, replaced by gasps, by sobs, by the sound of 60,000 hearts breaking simultaneously. Because this is not Babe Ruth. This is death walking. This is a skeleton in a suit. This is the end of an era made visible. Ruth walks toward home plate. Each step is agony. Each breath is fire, but he keeps moving. The cane supporting him. The crowd watching him. Everyone understanding they are witnessing something profound, something tragic, something beautiful. His left foot moves forward, plants on the grass he ran on thousands of times, the grass that used to feel like home. Now it feels foreign, like visiting a place you used to know but no longer recognize. Right foot forward, the cane shaking under his weight. Not because the cane is weak, because Ruth is weak, his legs trembling, his knees threatening to buckle, but he does not stop, does not ask for help, just keeps moving, one step at a time. The crowd is completely silent now. 60,000 people making no sound, just watching, witnessing. Some are covering their mouths, some are wiping tears, some are looking away because it hurts too much to watch. But most are watching, recording this moment in their memories, because they know. They will tell their children about this, their grandchildren. I was there the day Babe Ruth walked across Yankee Stadium, dying, but walking, still fighting. Ruth passes second base, 15 more feet to home plate, 15 feet that feel like 15 miles. A young boy in the front row, maybe 8 years old, starts crying. Loud, uncontrolled crying. His father pulls him close. "It is okay, son. He is still here. He came to see us." The boy sobs into his father's shoulder. "But he looks so sick. Why did they let him come if he is so sick?" The father has no answer, just holds his son, watches Ruth walk, understands that sometimes courage looks like dying but refusing to die quietly. When Ruth reaches home plate, he stops, turns to face the crowd, tries to stand straight, to look like he used to, but his body will not cooperate. He leans heavily on the cane, his suit hangs off him, his face is gaunt, but his eyes are still Babe Ruth, still full of that spark, that joy, that love of baseball. A microphone is brought to him, old-style microphone, heavy, metal, the kind Ruth used to speak into after games, after championships, after breaking records, back when his voice was strong, back when words came easily. Now he stares at it, knows what he is supposed to do, supposed to give a speech, thank the fans, thank the team, thank baseball for everything it gave him. But he cannot speak. His throat is destroyed by cancer and radiation, his vocal cords damaged beyond repair. His voice, the voice that called out to millions, that laughed with joy, that told stories and jokes, is gone. He opens his mouth, tries to push air through his damaged throat. No sound comes out, just a wheeze, a gasp. The crowd leans forward, straining, wanting to hear, needing to hear their hero one more time. Ruth closes his eyes, summons strength from somewhere deep, from memory, from love, from everything baseball meant to him. He tries again. "Thank you." 2 words, barely audible even with the microphone amplifying. 2 words that sound like they are being dragged through broken glass, torn from his throat by sheer will. The crowd hears. Those 2 words travel across 60,000 people, and 60,000 people feel their hearts break. Because those 2 words cost him so much, because they can hear the pain in his voice, because they know he is using his last strength just to say thank you to them. The crowd is silent, straining to hear, wanting to hear more, needing to hear more. Ruth tries again, summons every bit of strength remaining. "This stadium—" His voice cracks, fails. He coughs. The cough sounds wet, painful. He puts his hand to his throat, tries again. "This stadium gave me everything." 5 more words, 7 total. That is his speech. 7 words that took everything he had left. If this story is touching your heart and you want to see how this moment became one of the most powerful in sports history, make sure to subscribe so you never miss these emotional moments. And comment below. Do you think Ruth should have stayed in the hospital, or was coming to the stadium the right choice? Share your thoughts. Ruth stands at home plate. The microphone is taken away. He has nothing left to say, nothing left to give. But he stands there, looking at the crowd, at the stadium, at everything he loved. The Yankees present him with a plaque, bronze, heavy, engraved with his achievements. 714 home runs, 7 World Series championships, American League MVP, the greatest player in baseball history. Ruth takes the plaque, holds it. But it is too heavy. His arms are too weak. It starts to slip. A Yankees official catches it, holds it for him. Ruth nods, thanks him silently. Then Ruth does something nobody expects. He turns around, faces the outfield, raises his cane above his head, the same gesture he used to make with his bat after hitting a home run, pointing to where the ball would go. One last time. He points to the outfield, to right field, where so many of his home runs landed. The crowd understands. They erupt again, not with sadness now, with celebration, with memory, with the joy of remembering who he used to be. Ruth holds the cane up for 10 seconds, 15, 20, his arm shaking from the effort. But he holds it, because this is his goodbye. This is his final message. I am still here. I am still Babe Ruth. I hit home runs. I made you happy. And even now, dying, I am pointing to the sky, because that is what I do. Then his arm falls. The cane drops to his side. His body sags. Paramedics rush forward, catch him before he collapses, wheel him toward the tunnel. The ceremony is over. 7 words, 1 raised cane, 5 minutes total. That is all Babe Ruth had left to give, but it was enough. Ruth is wheeled back to the ambulance, loaded onto the stretcher. The doors close. The ambulance drives slowly back to Memorial Hospital. Inside, Ruth is unconscious, not from the cancer, from exhaustion, from giving everything to those 5 minutes. He used every bit of strength, burned every last reserve, for 7 words and a raised cane. The doctors are furious. This could have killed him. This trip was irresponsible. Linda Ruth does not apologize. He wanted to go. He needed to go. And he did it. He went to his stadium one last time. And if that killed him, at least he died doing what he loved. But Ruth does not die that day. He survives. Returns to his hospital room. Sleeps for 16 hours. When he wakes up, he writes a note. Just 2 words. Worth it. Over the next 6 weeks, Ruth's condition deteriorates. The cancer spreads to his lungs, his liver, his brain. He stops eating, stops drinking, stops doing anything except existing. Barely. His family visits, sits with him, tells him stories, shows him newspaper clippings about the stadium ceremony, about how everyone is talking about his bravery, about how his 7 words meant more than most people's speeches. Ruth cannot respond, cannot write any more. His hands are too weak, but tears run down his face, so his family knows he hears them, knows he understands. August 16th, 1948, 7:15 p.m., Memorial Hospital, Room 216, George Herman. Babe, Ruth, takes his last breath. He is surrounded by family, by nurses, by the priest who administered last rites. He is 53 years old. He has been fighting cancer for 2 years. He lost, but in losing he showed more courage than most people show in their entire lives. The news spreads instantly. Radio broadcasts are interrupted. We interrupt this program with breaking news. Babe Ruth has died. The Sultan of Swat, the Bambino, the greatest baseball player in history, dead at 53 from cancer. America stops. People who never met Ruth cry. Children who only heard stories about him cry. Adults who watched him play cry. Because Babe Ruth was not just a baseball player, he was hope, he was joy. He was proof that a poor kid from an orphanage could become the most famous person in America. And now, he is gone. The funeral is held at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. 100,000 people line the streets, waiting to pay respects. The casket is carried by Yankees players, current and former, men who idolized Ruth, men who played with Ruth, men who knew what baseball lost. The casket is taken to Yankee Stadium for one final visit, placed at home plate, where Ruth gave his final speech, where he raised his cane one last time. Thousands of fans file past, each one saying goodbye, each one remembering, each one crying. Years later, People who attended the June 27th ceremony are interviewed, asked what they remember. An 80-year-old man says, "I remember seeing him walk onto the field and not believing it was him, this thin, dying man. But then he raised that cane, and for just a second I saw the old Babe Ruth, the strong one, the happy one, and I cried because I knew I would never see him again." A 75-year-old woman says, "I was 23 years old. I had watched Ruth play when I was a girl. He was my hero, and watching him die in front of us, it was the saddest thing I ever witnessed, but also the bravest. He could have stayed in the hospital, could have died quietly. But he came to say goodbye to all of us. That took courage." A former Yankees player says, "I played with Babe for 5 years. He was larger than life, loud, funny, strong. Seeing him that day, so small, so weak, it destroyed me. But what he did, coming to the stadium, giving that speech, raising his cane, that was the most Babe Ruth thing he ever did. Going out on his own terms, in his stadium, with his fans. That was Babe." The photographs from June 27, 1948, become iconic. One in particular, Ruth standing at home plate, leaning on his cane, suit hanging off his skeletal frame, face gaunt and gray, but eyes still bright, still alive, still fighting. That photograph is published in every newspaper in America, becomes one of the most famous sports photographs in history, not because it shows victory, but because it shows courage, shows dignity, shows a man refusing to let death define him. Ruth defined himself. Even at the end, even dying, he was still Babe Ruth, still pointing to the outfield, still making people believe in something bigger than themselves. June 27, 1948. Babe Ruth was dying from cancer. Doctors gave him weeks to live, but he left the hospital, got in an ambulance, went to Yankee Stadium, walked onto the field he made famous, stood at home plate one last time, spoke 7 words that took everything he had, raised his cane like a bat, pointed to right field, and in that moment 60,000 people cried. Not because they were sad. Well, not only because they were sad, but because they were witnessing something profound, the end of a legend, but also the proof that legends never really die, because even when the body fails, even when the voice is gone, even when death is certain, the spirit remains, the joy remains, the love remains.